The water swallowed her whole, a silent swirling abyss, a white dress billowed out like a ghost. Suspended in the murky blue-black tendrils of hair drifting around her face. It was an image that would haunt not just the screen but the quiet sun-drenched streets of suburban Melbourne, where Sarah and her son Finn had hoped to build a new life. This wasn't just a film for countless Australians, this was a reflection of a hidden reality, a brutal struggle for a fair go played out not in the courtroom, but in the most intimate and dangerous of spaces, the home. What happens when the place meant to be your sanctuary becomes your prison and the only escape is a leap into the unknown? Before the darkness there was a different kind of life. Sarah, a registered nurse at a bustling public hospital in the outer western suburbs of Melbourne, was a woman of quiet strength and immense compassion. She'd spent her career caring for others, navigating the complex and often heartbreaking realities of the Australian healthcare system. Her son Finn, a bright, curious 11-year-old, loved nothing more than kicking a footy in the local park and dreaming of playing for the Western Bulldogs. Their semi-detached weatherboard home in Footscray, with its small well-tended garden and a friendly neighbour who always had time for a chat over the fence, represented stability, community and the simple pleasures of Australian life. It was a life built on routine, on school drop-offs and after-school snacks, on the comfortable rhythm of two people who loved each other deeply. Mark, Sarah's husband and Finn's father, was a tradesman, a carpenter who worked on various building sites across Melbourne. On the surface they were a typical Australian family navigating the mortgage repayments, the rising cost of living and the everyday challenges that most households face. But beneath the veneer of normality a different story was unfolding, one of escalating control and insidious fear. The incident didn't begin with a single dramatic explosion but rather a creeping erosion of Sarah's autonomy, a slow tightening of the noose. It started subtly, with Mark questioning her work hours, her friendships, the clothes she wore. Then came the financial control. He insisted on managing all the household finances despite Sarah earning a solid income. He would scrutinize every grocery receipt, demand explanations for every dollar spent, even small purchases for Finn. Sarah, a professional used to managing complex medical situations, found herself asking for an allowance, her own money, for basic necessities. This financial manipulation, a common tactic in domestic abuse, left her feeling utterly dependent and trapped. When she tried to access their joint bank account online to pay for Finn's school excursion, she found the password changed. Her attempts to discuss it were met with explosive anger, accusations and ultimately a chilling threat: "If you ever try to leave, you'll lose everything. And you won't take Finn with you." This wasn't just a threat, it was a deeply ingrained fear for many women in similar situations. Knowing the system can be slow, complex and often favor the status quo. The threat of losing her son, the very center of her world, became her golden handcuffs, preventing her from seeking help, from exercising her right to safety and dignity. The silence, the unspoken fear, became a constant companion in their Footscray home. This insidious control, this slow erosion of a person's life and liberty, is precisely what films like Life Could Be a Dream aim to expose. While the film itself isn't a direct legal drama, the themes it explores are profoundly rooted in Australian law and the institutions designed, however imperfectly, to protect individuals from such harm. For Sarah, had she been able to articulate the full extent of the abuse, the first port of call would have likely been her local police station seeking an intervention order, known in Victoria as a Family Violence Intervention Order. This order, granted by a magistrates' court under the Family Violence Protection Act 2008 *Vic. could have provided immediate protection for her and Finn, preventing Mark from coming within a certain distance or from contacting them. The evidence required for such an order doesn't need to be physical violence. Patterns of coercive control, financial abuse, and emotional manipulation are increasingly recognized by the courts. Sarah's experience with Mark changing bank passwords and controlling her access to funds directly relates to the economic abuse provisions within the Act. Imagine trying to explain to a magistrate the subtle terror of not being allowed to buy milk for your child without justifying it. Imagine trying to prove the cumulative weight of 1,000 small indignities, each one designed to diminish your sense of self and your right to a fair go. The legal process can be daunting, requiring detailed statutory declarations, court appearances, and often facing your abuser across a courtroom. For many, the sheer emotional and logistical burden can feel insurmountable, especially when navigating the process while still living under the shadow of abuse. The resolution, both in the film and in real life, is rarely a clean-cut victory or a simple, happily ever after. For Sarah and Finn, in life could be a dream. Their escape was a desperate, almost wordless flight, a break from the tyranny of their home. This kind of escape often leaves individuals financially vulnerable, having to rebuild their lives from scratch. They might rely on the support of women's refuges, community legal centers, and the generosity of family or friends. If Sarah had chosen to leave and pursue a legal path, the complexities of family law would have come into play. Issues of parental responsibility, living arrangements for Finn, and child support would have been determined by the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia. Under the Family Law Act 1975 *, the court's paramount consideration is always the best interests of the child, and evidence of family violence, including the kinds of controlling behavior Mark exhibited, would be heavily weighted. Financially, Sarah might have sought a property settlement dividing assets acquired during the marriage, including their Footscray home and Mark's superannuation. Under the principles of the Family Law Act, this process can be lengthy, costly, and emotionally draining, requiring comprehensive financial disclosure and often intense negotiation, or failing that, litigation. For Sarah, the win wasn't a court order, it was the ability to breathe freely, to protect her child, to reclaim her own life. But the scars, both visible and invisible, would remain. So what does Sarah's story, echoed in life could be a dream, mean for everyday Australians? It means that abuse isn't always physical. It can be insidious, financial and psychological, stripping away your independence and your sense of self. If you or someone you know is experiencing financial control, your partner changing bank passwords, demanding access to your earnings, refusing you access to funds, or threatening to leave you destitute, realize that this is a form of domestic abuse. You have rights, and there are institutions designed to help you. In Victoria, the Family Violence Protection Act 2008 *